What's happening, everybody? Steve here, Cars with Steve, and today I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the steering wheel and the cluster screen inside of the new Ford Maverick. Going to be going through everything, how these buttons work, what everything does. Let's go for it. Next up, let's take a peek at the steering wheel of the vehicle. So, first and foremost, if you ever get a warning message on the screen, you just press the OK button in the middle there in order to get rid of any messages that might be there. So starting off with the pad on the left-hand side, and this is going to be for our base cruise control. So we can turn the cruise control on easily, we can set it as necessary. Now, one thing to note, we do have the option for the adaptive cruise control when we get into the Lariat luxury package. So it's not going to be standard inside of the regular Lariat, we have to go for the Lux package in order to get that feature. We can easily adjust our volume, we can mute it from there as well if we wanted to. Off to the right-hand side, we can change between songs or radio stations. One of the great things is that we can actually push and hold there as well if we wanted to seek between different stations that way. So you at least have a few different ways that we can kind of seek between different stations and things like that, switch between active presets, etc. So a lot of flexibility there. This button is also going to be the one where we can either answer or hang up at a phone call. We do have our voice command prompt.
Assistant requires a connected phone.
All right, so as of right now, because we are in the base version of the Lariat as well, we don't have the Sync 3 system with the added enhanced voice support, which would give us the option of doing things like changing radio stations, making phone calls, and things like that using our voice. So when we're in the base versions of the vehicle, this command prompt is actually going to give us the flexibility to use Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, specifically our assistants. So if we were hooked up through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, we could use this as our Apple CarPlay, so our Apple Assistant, so Siri, or we could use it as our Google Assistant button there instead. These buttons are going to let us figure out what's going on with that cluster screen. And then we do have a few different options for the screen itself. The screen size is going to depend on which trim level of the vehicle you're looking at. Because we're in the Lariat, we do have a 6.5-inch screen. When we're in the XL, XLT, etc., it's going to be a 4.2-inch cluster screen standard instead. But looking at some of the basics, this is going to be our basic back button. This is going to let us go up and down between different screens, and then this is our generic menu button. This, the one that lets us go between different screens, if we press the OK button, that's literally going to let us reset any settings and jump into little other menus and things like that. So starting off, we are on our fuel economy, so we press and hold OK in order to be able to reset our economy. Boom, reset. Dropping down, we've got our trip counter, tire pressure, we've got our AM, FM, so whatever station's currently playing, and then pressing the menu button there is going to bring us into this sub-screen menu, where we can select different screens, so we can have a calming screen show up where there just wouldn't be anything on the screen instead. We've got our intelligent all-wheel drive, trailer light check, seat belts, auto start stop, and a few other things. So if we add in a few, I think we can maybe add in one or two more. Let's go seat belts. Okay, there we go. And then we jump back again, and then as you can see, we've got our seat belts there. We've got our FM, we've got the calming screen. So it gives us our digital speed along the bottom right-hand side, and then we don't have much of the same distractions that we'd see in some of the other options there. So we look. So if you're just not a fan of having as many distractions, we can easily go into the calming screen there instead if we wanted to. We do have our audio buttons there as well, so we can jump between AM, FM. If our phone was connected, that would show up as an available source. If we had a USB stick with MP3s, that would show up as an available source there as well. Dropping down, we've got our phone, so as of right now, no phone connected, but if it was connected, we could make phone calls and things like that as well by simply selecting that option. Moving into settings, we've got a few different options that are available there as well. So we've got our trailer sway control, which is great because if the vehicle senses that there's sway going on in the trailer, it's automatically going to apply engine braking in order to get that sway under control. We've got some driver assistance settings, so quite a few of them. We've got our blind spot system, so that lets us know if anybody's under the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Cross traffic alert, so if the vehicle senses something's coming perpendicular, it's going, as we go to reverse, so somebody's coming off from our left or right side, it's going to warn us and let us know of a potential collision. We've got our driver alert setting, and that's the one where if it's actually tied into the lane keeping, but if we get too many notifications because we're veering over too many times without signaling, we're going to get a message letting us know we should probably take a break. Now on the lane keeping system, so we do have a button just on the very tip of that left turn stick there. You can just make it out. But that's the one that's actually going to turn that lane keeping system on or off. So we can see it's on whenever we have those lanes showing up there. Now the system might be on, but it doesn't actually activate until we hit about 60 kilometers an hour. So these lanes are going to go green when it recognizes the markings, and then it's literally going to keep us bounced in our lane. So it's not a full lane centering with this base system, but it's at least a base lane keeping system. So 3 different ways. We've got our alert, which is going to give us a little bit of a steering wheel shake, our aid, which is going to nudge us back into our lane, and our alert and our aid, which will do both. Moving back, it's the intensity of that steering wheel shake. Then we've got our pre-collision assist system with active braking. So if the vehicle senses a potential collision, it can actively brake for us as well. That's going to be the basics of driver assistance. We've got some vehicle settings so we can lock it out for a 30-minute max idle. We've got some other lighting options, so our auto lamp delay, high beams, etc. The auto high beam is an interesting one because with our beams on, if the vehicle recognizes that there's an oncoming vehicle, it's going to dim them, turn them off, and bring them right back to life again for us. And then the auto lamp delay, when we go to lock the vehicle, how long do the lamps stay on for? We've got a few different options for our locks. The big one here is going to be our remote unlock. So when we go to remote unlock, do all doors become unlocked or just the driver's door? We've got our switch inhibitor as well as our intelligent access, which if on the outside of the truck we slide our hand in behind the door handle, it's actually going to unlock the doors. It's not available on every trim level, but is available in the Lariat as an option. We've got our oil life reset, remote start. So the key fob itself doesn't have remote start built in, but we do have the flexibility of still remote starting using our app, our phone if we wanted to. So we'd be able to use the Ford Pass app on our phone, whether that's an Android or an iPhone, in order to remote start that way. We've got the duration of we've got the climate there. I should actually start off there. So is that going to let the vehicle determine what the cabin temperature should be, or is it going to be based off of our last setting? The duration of the start, is it 5, 10, or 15 minutes? And then we can turn the whole system off if we wanted to. Wipers, we've got our courtesy wipe, which if we've got our windshield wipers if we've got our windshield wipers going, and then we have the courtesy wipe on, what'll happen is at the end of our wipe cycle, it'll wait a second, and then it'll go one more time to get rid of any sort of excess liquid that might be on the windshield. And moving back, that's going to be the basics for our vehicle. My key, similar to a lot of other Ford vehicles, we can easily set up a key with certain limitations. So if you wanted to have it where you couldn't speed excessively, you could literally have it set a specific key fob, can only go maybe up to 100 kilometers an hour. So you do have the flexibility of easily setting up your My Key if you wanted to. And that's going to be the basics of our settings there. Moving back, we have our display set up so we can show miles or kilometers per hour on the bottom right-hand side there. We can switch between a few measurement units. So if you prefer miles per gallon, Celsius, Fahrenheit, we've got a few different options for how we're going to have our tire pressure displayed. And then we've got our language where we can switch between either English, Spanish, or French. And that's going to be the basics of the actual screen itself. Hopping back out, we're back into our main pages there. So as I mentioned, this is going to be the button that's going to let us go between individual screens, and then we can just press and hold the OK button in the middle there in order to go between different options as well. Now, stick on the left-hand side, I had mentioned it earlier, there's a button on the very tip of the stick. That's going to turn the lane keeping system on or off. We can easily flash our high beams, whereas the stick on the right-hand side is going to give us the flexibility to adjust our wiper speed as well, and then we can pull in towards us to get that front wiper fluid going if we wanted to. Well, folks, that was a look at the steering wheel and cluster screen. What did you think? If you have any questions, ran into any problems, need some clarification, drop down in the comment section below and let me know. More than willing to talk you through any problems you might be having. But if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up and share it with your social networks. Think about subscribing, and until I see you next time, take care.